Hello everyone, welcome down to today's video where we will be channeling our inner Phil Mickleson and exploring how he plays shots around the green. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well, and little tap that bell icon while you're down there as well. It will bring you eternal good fortune, maybe, possibly, but it'll improve your short game, definitely, maybe, if you follow what's in this video. 100%. Now, with what Phil has been talking about recently, it's all about hitting bombs, but today's not about hitting bombs. Today he's talking about what I believe he's most famous for, and to be honest, what he should be regarded for as one of the true masters in the game. We are talking around the green, the short game, the stuff that legend is made of as far as Phil is concerned. And I'm here at Formuladies to talk you through these shots, and I'm really excited not only to be talking about his technique and how he does it, but also we've got a full set of his wedges to actually try. So the PM grinds from Callaway, including a 64-degree wedge, which just looks absolutely mental. So today we have a coaching video, a club review, and a look at one of the best play short games in the entire world. I would say that this is a recipe for success. So please settle down, grab yourself a nice cup of tea, coffee, hot chocolate, or other beverage which you find agreeable, and enjoy, hopefully. Now, everything that is in this video has been learnt from magazine articles, from YouTube videos, and from just watching Phil down the years be the player that he is, the absolute maestro around the greens. And I've got a 54-degree PM grind that I'm going to start these demonstrations off with, but I've also got a 56, I've got a 60, and then we've got the 64, which I cannot wait to get to. Stay tuned, because of course we are going to be doing the Phil Mickleson flop shot. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about is the very basic Phil Mickleson chip and run, and he has a super simple method, and this has been done by working with Dave Peltz and other short game coaches. And I've got a very straightforward chip here. There's nothing really between me and the flag. I've just got to land it on the green and get it rolling out like a putt, which is something he does emphasize on many shots, which sounds slightly strange because you imagine Phil Mickleson is very much just up in the air and all flop shots, but no, he has an amazing variation around the greens, and that's what really is important. Now, Phil Mickleson uses something called a hinge and hold chipping technique, which is super simple. He basically gets set up. Normally the ball is towards his back foot, unless he's trying to change trajectory, which we'll get onto in a moment, but the ball is near his back foot. And what he does is he hinges the wrist back very quickly, so you can see a very quick hinging or cocking of the wrist, depending on your terminology. And then what he does, he holds that angle into impact, so you can see the left arm and the hands ahead of the ball here, and then he continues to hold that angle. And what he's really looking for is, after impact, the left arm and the club to be in a straight line, or for him the right arm and the club to be in a straight line, the lead arm and the club to be in a straight line. Got there eventually. So for this type of shot where there's really nothing in front of me, the ball position is going to be on the back foot. The weight is very much going to be on the front foot, and that is something that you will see throughout Phil Mickelson's shots. He has a lot of weight on his front foot, apart from when the ball is in a fluffy lie. Again, we will get to that. So the weight on the front foot, ball position off that right toe. I'm just going to hinge those wrists and then hold it coming into impact. You can see how the ball came out really low there and has then run out towards the target. Actually, weight-wise, very good. Let's just have one more. Well, I might have two more maybe. So hinge and then hold it. Oh, go on, release out. Oh my word. These are brand new wedges, by the way, so you could almost see the spin as I'm hitting it. And hingy hold. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, Phil, you might know what you're talking about. So I've got a different type of shot here. So I've got an incline up to the pin, and then there's very little green to work with. So I could still use that same technique. So I've got the 54-degree wedge here again. Ball position, I'm going to be popping back in the stance once more, and I'm going to need to bump this into the bank and then try and release it up to the hole. And I've actually not done terribly there, but you can see how it's ran on and it's gone past the pin. The problem with this is, because I've got such a bank to deal with, the actual spin control is inconsistent. But what I'm going to do now is use exactly the same wedge, but the difference is, rather than the ball being back hinging, holding a steeper angle of attack, the ball coming out lower and checky, what I'm actually going to do is move the ball position to the front of the stance, keep my weight forward. So much more weight is on my front foot here. A good 80% is on my front foot. And then I'm going to hinge once more, hold once more, but because the ball position is so much more further forward, I'm going to be able to present more loft, I'm going to be able to get more height, and I'm going to be able to get the ball landing softer. So exactly the same technique, hands pretty much level with the ball now because it's so far forward. Just going to hinge it, try and pitch it around the front of the green. And you can see the difference in the flight there. Oh, ooh, hello. Oh, that was good. Just went past the edge. Now one more. Completely different flight there. Oh, stop it, stop it. Now, something that Phil talks about a lot of the time is controlling trajectory, and exactly why that's so important, because you need to understand the green conditions, you need to understand the type of shot you're dealing with. So what I've done here is I've changed to this 60-degree wedge, and just a note about these wedges as well, a very impromptu review. Now, this very much has Phil Mickleson at the heart of it. So this weird shape, this really high toe shape, which other manufacturers have copied since, this is all about getting more groove space. So it's 33% more groove space on this club than you would say a conventional type of wedge. It's got this beautiful amount of toe relief as well, and heel relief. You can really lay the club wide open and play, as you might expect, beautiful flop shots. But we're not going to go full flop shot here, because what this calls for is pretty much, again, exactly the same technique, something which is so good about Phil Mickleson. You would expect that everything kind of changes when he does all these weird spinny shots, but it's not the case. All I've done here is I've changed club, so I've added 6 degrees more loft. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that ball position at the front of my stance, and I'm just going to do another hinge and hold technique. Remember, the weight is very much on the front of my foot. This allows the club to pass underneath the ball, and because the ball is at the front of my stance, that allows that elevation. So I'm not digging into the ground here, hinging, holding, and really skimming that club underneath the ball. So the ball position, again, front of the stance, weight is forward, hands slightly ahead of the ball, and then we hinge and we hold. Ball pops up, navigates the front of that green. Phil Mickleson, what an absolute genius you are. Now what we're going to do is adapt this very slightly, because I want a little bit more elevation. Yes, that went in, but I'm just not happy with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually open up the club face at address. Now what I mean by opening up the club face is I'm going to turn the club open, so I'm adding a little bit of loft. Obviously I've got a 64-degree in the bag, but this is a slight variation just using a 60. So club face that is square, I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to take my grip. That's the order. So I'm opening up the club face, I'm taking my grip. Because the club face is more open, I'm going to have to aim my body slightly more off to the left-hand side to help correct. Remember, when you open the club face, it starts to point further right of target if you're a right-handed golfer, left if you're a left-handed golfer. So I'm adjusting my stance exactly the same. That weight forward, that hinge and that hold, this should come out with a touch more elevation. Oh, that has come out so soft and spinny. Oh, so the only club I've not tried here is the 56-degree, and I'll give this a go out of the bunker. And Phil really is quite traditional in many respects, the way he approaches a bunker shot, certainly with the articles and what I've watched of him in the past. So the pin here is back right, which actually 56 will suit, just get a tiny bit more run. But what I'm going to do is very much just open the club face, exactly as I do with the flop shot, just to engage that bounce a little bit more on these wedges. Open up the stance, so I'm pointing well to the left-hand side of the target here. But because the club face is going to be so open, that's going to have the real effect on actually getting the ball started towards target. Ball position is, again, front of the stance, pretty much just inside the left heel. The weight is forward, hit the sand just before the ball, but really keep the acceleration up through the point of impact. I have to say, I really like these wedges. How good's that? Hit it. Ooh, bit aggressive. 56-degree, remember, Pete. You're landing this slightly short. Not that short though. So we have the 64-degree wedge out, which means it is Phil Mickleson flop shot time. But what I've done is I've set a couple of targets out here. Sorry if I'm a bit wet, by the way. I've just been through a very heavy, very intense rainstorm and didn't bring my brolly because, you know, it's a links course on the northwest of England. Why would it rain, right? But I've got the pin here to the left-hand side, and I've got just a T-peg here to the right, which I'm going to be doing the flop shot too, because one thing which Phil Mickleson really does talk about is picking the shot for an appropriate situation. Now, it might not look like it sometimes because he does play the flop shot from some ridiculous places, but it is a high tariff technique. And certainly if you've not practiced it a lot, it's a very hard shot to pull off. So for a pin which is back left there, yes, I've got to go over a bunker, but really this is very much, well, to be fair, what I've got here, so 64. Let's try one out the back, that weight forward once more, the hinge and the hold. Oh my God, that does come out very, very soft. That's not ended up too bad, to be fair. Left arm and shaft in a nice straight position there. So I'm just going to play to this T-peg, which is just onto the green here. Now this is all about commitment, it's about speed, and it's also about setup. So I've got this 64-degree wedge, and I'm going to turn it wide open, almost feel like the toe of the club, this big high toe, is resting on the ground. So that club face really is just pointing straight up in the air here. I'm going to put the ball position right at the front of my stance. I'm going to put loads of weight into this left side, so I'm pretty much 100% onto my left side. And I'm going to really get lots of wrist hinge very quickly, then drive the club down underneath the ball. Because the club face is so open and because of the bounce on this 64-degree wedge, it's not going to dig, it's just going to glide underneath the ball. It might take a little bit of a divot, but really not too much at all. This is not one that you want to be playing with the leading edge exposed because you're just going to dig straight into the turf. So that ball position right at the front of the stance. I'm going to take a little bit of a wider stance than normal as well. Hands, again, level with that left leg. Club face wide open here. Body positioned and aimed a long way to the left because of the club face being so open. Very quick hinge of the wrist and then drive underneath the ball. And you can see there, I mean, that's gone just slightly beyond, but that's pretty much a full swing there to actually get this flop shot working. So one more, weight forward, quick hinge. Drive it underneath, that's the one. Oh, look at that, how good is that? So, something which we haven't touched upon so far is different lies, because the lie will really determine the type of technique that you use. So everything that I've done today has been off a fairway lie, a fringe lie, nice tight lie, the types of lie which give you so much variability in what you can do. But sometimes you're going to end up in rough, and well, if you're like me, you're going to end up in this rough a lot of time. But what I'm going to do is give myself a lie which is a little bit sat up. So it's on a little bit of a tuff there. So what's going to happen here is if I try and do a bit of a flop shot and I try and get kind of down and underneath the ball, because the ball is sat up, I'm just going to go straight underneath it. The ball's going to be left pretty much where it is. So I need to make sure that I contact the ball first, or I get my arc so it just scoops the ball up and on its way. So a way to do that, for example, I could play this out of the very front of my stance, but just keep my weight distribution a little bit more even. And there I'm going to collect the ball a little bit more. I'm still going to try and use the hinge and hold, but just hinge and collect the ball on the way through. And you can see there, I'll stop very quick. You see, I didn't need there a massive swing to get it up in the air because the ball was sat up. So that was ball forward, not quite as much weight on my front foot, and I just collected the ball as I came through. Another way to do that, again, is from that sat up position. This is, I would say, a slightly riskier one, but you get that ball position in the back of the stance and just make sure you hit it first. And that's going to pop up and away. That's a little bit of a better strike. Oh, can I hold two today? That's not too bad. Okay, everybody, massive thank you for watching, and hopefully you've learned something from today's video about how Phil Mickleson approaches these wedge shots. I really like these PM grind wedges as well, I have to say. The most weird thing about it is just the actual look of them is very, very alien. I mean, everyone's done a high toe wedge. Well, everyone's done a high toe wedge. A lot of companies have done high toe wedges now. So if you think about TaylorMade, Wilson, the ones I've tried, but the PM grinds really do look the most extreme still. Get down into those comments below, let me know what you think about these techniques, if you've used them before. Personally, with the hinge and hold, it's something that works for some people. It doesn't work all the time for me, if I'm going to be honest with you. I like a little bit more of a shallower angle of attack coming into the ball, but you know, I'm not going to argue with the master here, am I? Massive thank yous for all my ladies for having me down as well. Absolutely love this course down here, even despite the really annoying rain. Look at this. It really isn't rain skies, it's a beautiful morning actually. In fact, I'm gonna go spend some more time with this morning. It's a beautiful morning. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in a bit.